Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Angelique. I am back for another week of my weekly domestic violence awareness podcast called Silent No More. I know I'm just getting started. There's only a few people logged in, but I guarantee you tonight is going to be a phenomenal night. I have a guest. I'm not going to say too much just yet. Give me a second. I'm going to get to her in just a second because we are going to have a conversation that needs to be had. I am excited to be here. Y'all know how I am. I'm high energy. For the few of y'all that are on here right now, I want you to start sharing this post. Start sharing it right now because tonight's conversation, I've been waiting for this one. Y'all hear me? I've been waiting for this one. All right. So let me do my infamous introduction. Let me get myself together. Hold on. Hello to all of my courageous queens and all of my courageous kings. I am welcoming you to episode, y'all been counting? You've been keeping count? Episode number 24. I cannot believe I've done this 24 times already. Episode number 24 of my weekly domestic violence awareness podcast called Silent No More, because I went through some things. And while I was going through those things, I kept it a secret. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't understand my pain. I didn't even have a definition for what I went through. So I was silent. But now at this place in my life, at this juncture in my life, I am silent no more. And neither is my guest. I can't wait till y'all meet her. All right, I'm Angelique Pierce. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I am an advocate of freedom and truth. That is what's most important. And I am also the founder of Ladder Masters Inspirational Leadership Group, better known as Ladder Masters. All right, I am here every week because I only speak for three reasons. And I want to make sure we're all clear about what those three reasons are. By now, y'all probably know how to say them in order, just like I do. Number one is to bring awareness. Number two is to break down facades. There's a lot of facades when it comes down to domestic violence. And number three is to build conquerors. That's why I'm here. If you hear me speak for any other reason, you are free to tell me to shut my mouth. All right. So here we go. It's October. You guys know that. You ladies know that. It's October. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Let me give you a little bit of history. Yes, it's on my paper. I'm going to read it to y'all, okay? Domestic Violence Awareness Month was launched nationwide back in October of 1987. And here we are, years and years later. It was created to connect and unite individuals and organizations that are working on domestic violence issues because there's a lot of them, y'all. Just stop and think about it. There's a lot of them. So we can raise awareness to these issues and get the resources that we need, and even the legal side, the laws. So now we're on the fourth Sunday of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I've got a special episode for y'all. Okay, tonight's episode is called It's Time to Jump, Breaking Free from the Cycle of Abuse. And I have a special guest with me tonight. This is, I see her in the background. I see her because I'm about to bring her on here. Y'all ready? Listen, I see her in the background. She is a down-to-earth woman who is going to tell it like a T.I. is, as I like, my mom used to say that, tell it like a T.I. is. I remember that. She is a woman who has been through the fire, but did not burn. She is a survivor who is bent, but not broken. This is a lovely, sassy, powerful woman by the name of Danielle Kennard. Okay, so now let's see. Hold on. I'm going to add her back to the screen. Here she is, this lovely, lovely, beautiful woman by the name of Danielle Kennard. Like I said, she has been through the fire, but she didn't get burned. She was a survivor who has been bent, but not broken. This lovely, sassy, powerful woman, Danielle. How are you, baby?
I am doing good. So honored, so blessed to be here on this platform with you tonight, Queen. I'm
Yes. Go ahead, adjust yourself. We getting there, girl. Go ahead and adjust. Listen, y'all, we about to get going. So if you have not yet shared this, when I say share, listen, all of us, Danielle, I know for you too. We are all a part of Facebook groups. We all got tons of friends on Facebook and wherever else. We want you to stop right now. Share it to one of those Facebook groups, as many as you can. If there is someone who you think needs to hear about this, again, tonight's show is called It's Time to Jump. breaking free from the cycle of abuse. And it's my special guest right here, Danielle. So if you haven't shared it, please do that. I'm going to watch the comments. I see some comments already popping in. Ooh, oh, wait a minute. Do you know Cassandra Edwards? Can't hear you, baby.
You said, do I know her?
Do you know Cassandra Edwards?
Yeah.
Look, one more.
That's my sister.
This your blood sister?
Yeah, like my mama only daughter. You know her?
Oh no, I'm sitting here like I love it when family shows up. That's what I love it when family shows up.
That's my mom's daughter.
Wait a minute, we got one more. Who's that? Dorothea Pinkett. If I said your name wrong, please forgive me. But
those are my godparents. They knew my situation. They adopted me into their family many years ago, and those are my godparents.
That's what I'm talking about. So Cassandra, is it Dorothea? Is that how you say her name?
Yes, probably both her and her husband on there, Dorothea Pinkett.
Oh, I love it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm very excited. If you can't tell, I'm very excited about this episode. Having spoken to Danielle multiple times. Hi, Midori. Camille is in here. Oh my God, that's my soror. We went to Penn State together. Thank you for joining, Camille. Midori is also a survivor. She's been through some things. Midori, you remember I think you were my episode number 2, girl. I think you were on my second episode. And now we're at episode number 24. Can you believe that? Can you believe it? All right, y'all. This episode tonight, I'm so excited. Y'all know me. Before I get too far into any episode, it is so important to me that I say a prayer. I think it's essential. And Danielle would agree. Praying that's something we need to do. So we're going to take a few moments to say a prayer, to invite God's spirit and his presence into this discussion, because at the end of the day, and my bestie just came on, at the end of the day, this conversation needs to be God focused, because I'm telling you, from my perspective, Danielle, you tell me, but I swear, when it comes down to abuse, there's some bad spirits up in there. That right there, there's some demonistic stuff going on. So we're going to invite the good stuff into this conversation. All right, so here we go. You ready? We'll say a quick prayer. Father, we come before you just thanking you for this time together. Every week I am here pouring out and hopefully changing lives and bringing a message that needs to be heard. And this week, I have somebody to help me do it. This beautiful queen who has seen tragedy. She has seen a lot of difficult things, but God, the way she has turned her life around and the perspective she has on what she went through, it's a perspective that the world needs to hear. So God, I thank you for this moment. Father, we ask you right now to come into this conversation. Let it be led by your spirit. That's what we ask, that every word we speak is meant to be said the way you need us to say it, whether it's to make a point or to make a serious impact. So God, right now, we lay before you every victim, every survivor of domestic violence. We ask, Father, if they are still in that situation or even thinking about going back, God, we thank you for the courage for them to get out and the strength that they will stay out. We thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Woo, we got some people joining in. Hold on, wait a minute. This person is my best friend.
Okay, best friend.
That's bestie right there, way back in Philly where I was born. Who what did Midori say? Yes, she was on show number 2. Midori was on my second episode.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us again. She was awesome. I appreciate her. And yes, she agrees with the demonistic stuff. So let's get started. Now, if you are on here and you haven't hit that share button, I need you to hit the share button. Whoever you are, I don't care if they get offended. Tag them in there. They're going to be like, did she just tag me like I'm in an abusive relationship? Maybe. They're tagging you for knowledge. Okay, let's do it. Danielle, I've got all these questions for you, okay? We may or may not get through them all, depending on how you deliver this thing tonight. And I know you well enough to know that you can deliver a story. Woo! Okay. So I know you, but they don't. So this is what we're going to do before we get into the details of your story. All right. Which I know is serious and intense and sometimes hard to even listen to. We want to talk about who Danielle is. Who are you? Meaning, where you're from, when you're not working, what can we likely find you doing? And something I always want to know, what's on repeat in your music playlist? So you take whichever question first that you want. You just lay it on us right now.
Danielle Kennard is a mother. I am a mother of three wonderful, amazing boys. I am a business owner. I am owner of Colleen's Creations Multi-Services, where I assist people with overcoming fear, transition from employee to entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What you can find on my playlist pretty much is always gospel. It's always gospel. I wake up, Alexa, first thing I tell her to do is play my gospel music. It has to set the tone for my day. It's a must.
I'm
And I pretty
surprised she
much
didn't
listen to
respond.
that all day long.
Yes.
Unless I'm in the gym and you can find me in the trap.
Yeah, you.
So that's
That's a whole
usually,
different playlist.
and it's a different playlist. Yeah, but when I'm in you can usually find me in the gym. So you ask me what am I usually doing, like in my spare time, you can probably
Yeah, when you're
find me
not working, what else are you doing? You're in the gym.
in the gym.
Can you pull me along? Can you convince me to get out of my house and go to the gym?
I'll try my best. I stay in the gym. It's personal for me though. It's personal because I lost my mother at 15 to a laundry list of medical issues.
Ooh.
So I try to, it's kind of therapy for me.
I get it. That's already a lot. That right there is a whole lot to unpack. Losing your mom at 15.
Yeah,
so
but that's a little bit of who I am,
Mm-hmm. All right, now, so we get a feel for you. What else you doing? You like to shop? You spending money on shoes, clothes? But yeah, jewelry.
No,
That's me. That's my problem.
I'm very frugal. I'm very frugal. I am a penny pincher.
I'm not.
I'm a penny pincher. I'm a thrifter. So I'm usually one of them people. I'm not gonna spend a lot of money on clothes or shoes. You're gonna see I'm an investor.
Okay, so I'm not like ridiculous with it, but I promise you, if you looked at my jewelry cabinet, you'd be like, "Wait a minute, what's happening right now?"
Nah, I keep me a pair of dollar earrings. Look, it just don't take a lot for me.
You are beautiful to me. Oh my God, you're beautiful to me. Okay,
thank you. You are. All right,
I really appreciate you being here because when I think about domestic violence, when we all think about it, it's this thing that everybody's like, like, let me tell you real quick, check this out. Literally, this happened last night when I was walking my dog. I go outside and I'm like, gosh, he got to pee. He's like, disturb me like, mommy, I got to pee. So I'm like, fine, I go to take him outside. Danielle, I walk out the door. We get basically just to the edge of my building, right? Just to the edge. And I can hear some like commotion. And I don't really know what it is. I can just hear it. And so I look up the street a little bit and there's a guy in a car and he's like in park and he's yelling from the car over to the area, this grassy area where another building is. And the girl is yelling back and they this and the other. And she's like, you better get the F on. You better get the F. She's cussing and he's cussing this and it's wild already. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, just when I walk out the door, right? Just when I walk out the door. And at first he goes to pull off. And I guess something she said just hit him too hard. He put that car in park, jumped out, and when I tell you he was running toward her, and all I could say was, no, you won't, not while I'm standing here. And he looked at me, and I'm like, nah, it ain't going down right now. Like, I'm like yelling. He turns around, runs, get in the car. I went up there, I said, let me tell you something. He was going to run you down right here. You out here saying this, get in the house, like, you need to go in the house. I said, he's going to come back here. Who is he to you? He was my boyfriend. He's going to come back here. He ran off just now, but this ain't it. Like, it's everywhere. I was just going to walk my dog. Anyway, we got to talk about this. Oh, hold on. We got a couple comments for you. Wait a minute. This is my bestie. You ready? She going to say trap. I love it. Yes.
Hey, I'm telling you, excuse me, babe, when I'm in the gym, I feel like I'm in the trap. Nothing is off limits.
Nothing off limits. Look, you like, God, hold on. I'll be back to the gospel in a second. Marvin Sapp, I'll get back with you in just a second.
The gym is where I feel like I can kind of be myself. There's nobody around, no kids around, so it's not like, oh, look at my mom. I'm like,
oh, look, now wait a minute. Now, Midori, we have talked, and I almost forgot this piece of her story. You mentioned your mom. She said, I know that feeling. She lost her mom at 14. So, yeah, you got some people that connected with you. And then Cassandra says, I'm going to assume it's Cassandra. I like the name Cassandra.
She said it's still controversy. Cassandra, I say Cassandra. She say Cassandra.
Because she said add that Frenchy to it. You got to go a little Frenchy, like Angelique, like that. Okay.
See, here y'all go.
She said you are one of the strongest people that she knows.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
love it. I
sister.
love it. I love it. All right. So let's talk about it. Okay. Question. My second question. So we got to know you a little bit because people tend to think, I don't know what they think about domestic violence victims and survivors. I don't know what they think about us, but we are real cool people doing
Very
big
down to earth.
people things. Okay. Now, here's what I want to ask you first. Many survivors are afraid. They are even ashamed. I know I was at one point to admit that I even went through domestic violence. So I imagine you've been through some of that too. So the first question that I'm sure everyone wants to know is what makes you willing to even come onto this show and share your story after going through what you went through, which they will hear in a second. But what makes you willing to come on and share your story?
One of the things that make me willing to share my story is because if I did not share my story, I would be a hypocrite. When I went through domestic violence, even just on the end of before the healing and all of those things, I knew that I would one day speak out. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, and I did not know how. But I did know that it was a mission, it was a calling on my life to bring awareness to the situation.
Yeah.
So why I decided now at this moment that I'm able to speak out and willing to speak out is because it's necessary. And for one, I can speak out in a manner to where the message will be rendered properly. It's not going to be from a place of emotion. It's not going to be from a place of hurt.
Yep.
It's not going to be from a place of anger. It's literally from a place of genuine concern and bringing awareness. And in order for you to properly be an advocate, you had to have gone through, not still be going through,
but gone through.
Exactly. So
Oof.
for me, I'm ready now. I'm ready.
God, I'm so thankful.
I'm ready. And I know the longer I sit on my story, then somebody can't heal. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next year. But somebody's going to be able to look back at this podcast is going to roll hopefully forever and ever and years to come. And somebody 5 years down the line will hopefully look at my story.
I am so grateful for you. Gosh, I'm so grateful for you. Listen, I'm going to put this one back up because yes, you are one of the strongest people she knows. I'm gonna put
Look,
that.
I gotta keep zooming in, y'all.
No,
I
you
don't
are
have
right.
my glasses on. I
ain't got these glasses on right here, so I'll make sure I read for you. Okay?
Right, thank you.
I'll read it for you. Listen, we are about to get into it. Danielle is about to tell you certain pieces of this story, and I promise you, Danielle, I know you couldn't even possibly cover it all in the hour. There's no way, but Danielle is willing and graciously going to share some stuff with us because we need to hear it, because domestic violence is so secretive that people don't know what it looks like, what it sounds like, and half the time have no definition for what it really is, and yet they're going through it right then and there. So that's what we're here to do. We're going to make it plain. So Danielle, you ready to go? Here we go. Here we go. Audience, if you have not shared this yet, I'm telling y'all, it's time to do it. I don't care who it is. Don't worry about, well, they might think I'm trying to say something about their man or their, so share it. Let them see it. If they watch it, it's their choice. If they don't, it's also their choice. But you will never be able to say that no one ever tried to tell you.
And if you know somebody that is going through domestic violence and you don't share it, you're selfish and you are a part of the problem.
There you go. That's a part of the silent culture. That's a part of the silent culture. Here we go. You ready?
Right.
You survived domestic violence. I want you to get into how it happened, meaning let's start with how you met him, right? Let's start with that. How did you meet him? What was the relationship like in the beginning? Let's start with that.
My domestic violence, I suffered domestic violence at the age of 23, 24. I met the person just randomly at a outing social club event. He was associated. He was a cousin of a friend of mine, my best friend at the time. And I literally was attracted to looks. I was attracted to the looks. I was attracted to the lifestyle of partying, the fast money. All of those things kind of caught my eye, even though I was warned. I was warned by my best friend
Look at
and
that.
his cousin to not talk to him.
Mm.
She warned me. Not even, she didn't even warn me. She begged me not to become involved with this person because of things that she had heard about him being involved in domestic violence situations previously.
And you know what? I mean, you said it. You were 23, 24 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we don't know everything, right? We're at 23, 24. And maybe when somebody warns us, we don't really know what they're actually talking about. Like, And so you said, all right. And then he was cute, right? He's kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
We know how that is.
Cute, had a little money, nice cars, real flashy, all of that.
See, and now look, you look, you said I'm frugal. I don't worry about all that. I don't worry about none of that.
I don't
None
care
of
about
it.
no looks. I don't care about no money. I
None
don't
of that.
care about the car you drive. I
None
don't
of it.
care about none of that.
It's amazing how certain things change your perspective. So you're with this guy. He apparently has some stuff in his background, but the way he was presenting himself to you, whole different thing, right? You enjoying it, you riding around with him, doing whatever y'all do, right? Having this relationship. But something changed somewhere along the way. So I want you to take us, however you want to tell it. You take us to the first time you had one of those he put his hands on me moments. What was that?
Ooh, the first time, it was many times. The first time definitely it was, you will meet somebody and they'll appear one way, on the surface. They
Oh, yeah.
they call that the a person's representative
Representative,
status.
absolutely.
So you'll meet them and they'll show up for as long as they need to get what they need. Is basically you in a vulnerable place.
Absolutely.
So everything is going well, for months on end. I'm being treated like what I'm thinking at the time is like royal treatment, like queen status. And eventually he got comfortable and he saw that I was comfortable. And in the midst of an argument, just one day, literally one day out of the blue, it was just like in the midst of an argument, it was like a backhand in the midst of a conversation. And it was so shocking to me. Nobody had ever really put their hands on me in a capacity like this before, like a real serious manner to where they're actually trying to do physical or doing physical harm to me.
I can't imagine.
And it started off with a simple slap.
Do you remember
That
what the argument was even about? I'm sure it was
not at
so
this point. No, it
insignificant,
was
right?
something so foolish.
But so foolish.
It was something so foolish. And most times we argued about me being at work or me wanting to hang out with family or just, it was anything was
But
an
of
argument.
course,
Anything that wasn't his way and how he wanted it became an argument.
anything for him to say, I want to be in control of how you move, when you move, and how long you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Your job, your family, your friends, your money, whatever. These dudes, they all the same, I swear. My goodness. So I want you to think about some of those painful, scary moments, not the final one, but some of those painful, scary moments that like stand out to you that you're like, I remember this time. I remember this time. Those, we all got some of those. What are some of those moments for you between you and him?
I remember a time where I would be so afraid because now the abuse, once the first slap happens and you don't do anything, you don't leave, they know that you are a weak individual, that you're not strong enough. Your mind is nowhere near the capacity that it needs to be to deal with the domestic violence.
Correct.
Let alone leave the situation.
Right.
So for me, there were many instances, but there is one instance that does kind of stick out to me. It was a time where we were just getting ready for a Halloween party. My son, myself, him, we were going over to his relative's house. And that became an argument, just getting ready, getting my son ready. And I can recall prior to leaving for the Halloween party, I got hit in my face. Like before I left for the event, I had to put makeup on my face. Like my eye was turning red that fast that day, where my 5-year-old had to watch all of this happen and still try to go and have a good time on Halloween. So that was a pivotal moment because it was the first time that my son kind of actually witnessed the
Yeah.
abuse. And even before we left that day, it was so threatening to the point where he pulled out a gun on me and told me, like, I will shoot you right here, right now on this couch. I will leave you in here stinking. I'll take your son. I'll raise your son as my own. Nobody would ever know that you in here. And then I thought about it, and he was right. Nobody would ever know I was in there because I had already isolated myself from my family at that point. So nobody knew I was even going through abuse, really, and nobody would have known to check on me because they would not have thought anything was different.
And this is all in front of your son,
Mm-hmm.
who was about what age at the time?
About 4 or
See,
5.
this is the stuff like, God, this is the stuff that just gets to me. Like, there's so many pieces of it that get to me, but it's the stuff in front of the kids that's just like, I am not only trying to, I've obviously destroyed my own, he's destroyed his own life, whatever was going on with him. He is determined to destroy yours and then the next generation for no good reason, but just other than I need to be in control and I just want to do this. Like it, and the thought that he would take it down the path to go as far as to say that I'm going to take your child, raise your child, all that, the whole story. I will shoot you right here, leave you here so that you stick. I mean, all of that, just the demonic piece of it.
That incident resulted in me taking my child at that point, and I had to take him out of town to kind of like be with his grandmother for a minute because I didn't really know, what was going to happen. Yeah, and I kind of was fearful for him, so I kind of had to try to get him to a safe place.
You got somebody in the background. Listen, let me tell you, if you are just joining, right? I want y'all to know this is Danielle. Danielle is a beautiful person who you can see right on the screen right now. She's beautiful. She's in the middle of telling this story about how she went through her situation of domestic violence. A person that she met at a younger age, right? I know hopefully you can still hear me, Danielle. She met him at a younger age in her, early 20s, 23, 24. He charmed her like they all do, right? But she's thinking back to these moments that were critical, the isolation, the things he did in front of her child, to the point where they're about to go to a Halloween party. And right before you leave, he hits you in your face, causes you to have to put on makeup, does all this in front of your son, and then basically says, let me tell you something, I will shoot you right here. And I will leave you dead right here, and I will raise your son and move on, and nobody will know. I mean, the thought, the thinking, it's disgusting. I'm so grateful for your life. I am so grateful you are sitting here right now to tell this story, because let me tell y'all, if y'all are questioning what it sounds like and what domestic violence sounds and looks like, she's telling you. Listen, she's telling you. All right. What was that final situation? I know there's a lot surrounding this. I almost don't want to hear it again, right? Because it gets to me. But it's important that we talk about these things because they really do happen. What was that final situation with your abuser that made you know you had to go? It was time to jump.
The final situation to where I just knew
that
it was kind of time to leave was and I really honestly can't say this the final situation because there was a time after this that I did go back.
Okay.
But this led up to the point where I knew that it was unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
There was an incident where I was at work and I had to begin to start to get like restraining orders to where you were showing up at my job. You were showing up outside of my apartment complex. When I would come into my apartment complex, you would be sitting on the steps waiting for me to get to my door. So I just was totally unsafe. So I had to resort to like restraining orders.
Right.
But this one particular day when I got off of work, he basically got into this huge altercation. I was pregnant. I was probably 5-6 months pregnant at the time.
And this is his child you're pregnant with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just want to make sure the audience is clear. This is his child she's pregnant with. So now listen to the rest of the story.
Yes, I was real big pregnant, and we got into an altercation because he he thought that, well, he accused me of messing with somebody on my job. It was all delusional. See,
Yep.
now that I'm
All
older, you know,
fabricated.
you can understand what was going on at the time. And a lot of the accusations were simply just tactics. Um, so there were tactics where it was basically this particular day I was told, hey, you're sleeping with this guy. I saw y'all coming out the job, you know, and I'm like, I know it's not true, you
Right.
know, but it's kind of one of the things you don't have energy anymore to deal with
Yep.
because it had been going on so long. I just didn't have the energy. Now I'm pregnant. I'm really fearful now because now I have to protect this life. And um,
Mm.
I recall coming home and it somehow just went way left. I was like, you know what? I'm just tired. Whatever you say is the truth.
Yeah, like I'm not even what yeah.
It's the truth. And because I did not really engage in a back and forth altercation, it was just like one of those things where it was like he lost it. He lost control. He instantly kind of just like grabbed me up. We tussling. He throws me on the floor. He jumps on top of me, like literally is like knee and my legs, arms is pin me down to the ground. And I will never forget just tussling and tussling and tussling. He runs to the kitchen. Well, after he slapped me a few times while I was on the ground already, I'm laying on top, and he literally slapped me around like a rag doll to where like my body was limp. At 5, 6 months pregnant, I really didn't have a lot of fight in me to fight.
He's just
Um,
slapping you and slapping you and slapping you.
and I'm literally just laying there like almost limp to where I had no fight left in me. And I remember him rummaging through the kitchen. I can hear him in the kitchen. I'm still in the bedroom on the floor because now I've been slapped. So I don't even know what my face looks like. I just don't know anything. All I'm thinking is trying to save this child that I'm carrying. I
Mm.
just knew that was my dying day. And I'm hearing this rumbling. He comes back with the biggest knife that you can imagine that's in your kitchen for cooking purposes. And he just holding the knife. He's like, I'm gonna kill you today. If I can't have you, nobody can have you. And
Oof.
I remember he put the knife down for a second. He took a wire hanger. He unraveled the entire hanger, and he was like, I'm getting ready to kill the baby. Like he just really, it was out of control. He was like, I'm getting ready to give you an abortion, and nobody's gonna raise my child, and all these things. So at that point,
Mm.
I think so. And I remember the knife is still sitting to the side because he just put it down. And I remember he still had me pinned down, got my shirt pulled up by this point now. He's holding my breast nipples. He's yanking, swiping away with the knife, swiping on my breast like it's touching my skin. He's like
With the
light
knife
cuts, almost as if he just wants to scare me, but he's not, but he's actually nicking me a little bit. And he's like, I'll cut this shit off.
mm.
Oh, you just ain't nobody gonna want you. Like it was a mess. And somewhere I got a little bit of strength and I
Mm.
was able to kick him off of me where he flew back into the wall. And in
Oof.
that quick second, I was able to stand up, run down the hall in my apartment at the time to the front door. He grabbed me at the front door, and it's still a tussle. Like it's such a tussle to where it was almost like as if I was literally fighting to live. Because as I'm trying to get out the door, he's yanking me back in the door. Finally, I feel something, but my adrenaline is still rushing, so it really didn't bother me at the time.
Yep.
And I didn't know to really after the fact that all this had really went down, it bit me on my back of my shoulder. Still to this day, I still have the scar
Where he
to
bit you.
prove it. Like an animal, like a chunk out of my back, just because I'm trying to escape out the door. And I finally escaped out the door because he grabbed my shirt and I was able to kind of throw the shirt over my head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
And
now I'm
kind of
just in a bra. So I'm running down the complex. The way my apartment building was made at the time, all the apartments were inside of a building.
mm.
So you had all these different floors. So I was on the third floor. And I recall running out of my apartment down the
Mm.
hall, beating on every door along the way. Everyone it was one on the right, one on the left, one on the right, one on the left. And I'm all the way down the hall. I'm just beating on them, yelling, screaming down the hall, yelling for help and all of these
Oof.
things. And for me, remember, I still got on a bra. I'm beat up. I don't know what my face looks like. I don't know anything at this moment. Um, but when I went back to my house after knocking on all those doors, not a soul, not a neighbor, not nobody called the police. And when I finally did make it back to the apartment, still fearful, not wanting to go in, but he left. He left because I was able to escape into the hall. So he's not knowing if somebody's going to call
Cops
the police.
come in and all that. Yeah.
And in that moment, there was a lot for me being so young and having to go down and possibly find shelters to live in. They were trying to put me in a safe home. They were trying to send me out of town, just to safety.
Danielle, I'm looking at you, right? You put together the jewelry is, I mean, I love the nose ring, all of it.
Thank you.
Beautiful smile. And when I rewind the tapes on what you just said, some of that stuff is sadistic. Like, who takes I don't know if you just tuned in, y'all, but that's why I said this. And I didn't even know the part about the wire hanger. You didn't tell me that before. The unraveling of the hanger and saying he was going to basically abort the baby. That was his own child in your stomach. Are y'all catching this? Like, I don't think I can just process what is going on in the minds of these fools because it makes no sense. That he would grab a knife, that he would chop at your breast and at your nipples, that he would tell you he gonna cut it off, that you're trying to get away from someone who doesn't want you to get away because he wants total control over you, your mind, your body, your life, whether you live the next minute or not. Y'all want to know why we sit here and bring awareness to this? Because this stuff is life or death. That's why we sit here and bring awareness to it. I'm gonna put up Cassandra's other
Yeah,
comment.
my sister's on the phone. Even during this time, my sister, I was fearful to go home. I went to her house many a nights during this time.
Mm.
Many a nights. I could not go home. I was afraid.
She said, DV looks different in many situations. Don't let anyone negate your story and tell you it's not significant. It looks different. Some DV situations are highly physical. Some are extremely mental, psychological, emotional, sexual. And don't get it twisted. Husbands can rape wives. Okay? Sexual abuse is a real thing. Financial abuse is a real thing. I've been through a lot of that stuff. Your
Yeah,
level of
it's all
physical,
domestic violence.
it's all of it. And I tell people, if you're confused, chop off the word, get rid of the word domestic because it's still violence, and that's a crime that needs to be punished. So you said that wasn't the final situation. You said that was one, and I'm assuming what you mean is you went back at some point. You might not have told me this part.
I had the baby.
You had the baby, and then
And I just, again, it after several months, because when that between the time between that situation, me delivering my child all the way up until my child was probably about 2 months, I did not have any more dealings with him, just for that short window, and that was probably about a total of maybe about 6 months.
Okay.
But of course, just again being foolish, so I have to paint this picture again, being that I lost my mom at 15.
Yeah.
I lost my father
this is
at
real.
12. So I didn't know what it looked like to even be loved. I didn't know what love really looked like on really any end. Not gonna say any end because I had my mom talks about 15, but for me, what love looked like for a woman and a man, I had no knowledge of that. And for me, I believe for so long I accepted anything that a man had to give me because I just wanted something that I was lacking. Not knowing that that type of desperation will lead you to a lot of unforeseen and unexpected situations.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I did go back. I went back, because now I have this child. I got 2 kids now.
And it's and that child you just had is his, right?
And it's his. And it's like, okay, well, how do you deal with, for one, there was hatred for so long, and then it turned into, okay, well, maybe we can try to be cordial to co-parent. And it was one of those situations. We were not really back together, but I was allowing you to come around so that you can attempt to be in the presence of your child. So
Right.
there was another incident where this was the final straw. So
Oof.
this incident took place. Now my son is about 3 months,
Mm.
and I allow him to come back to come to visit his child, and he's at my apartment. We're talking, and he's talking about getting back together
Of course
and
he
all of these
is.
things. And of course, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, and let's just kind of do what we're doing now. And this works for me, but again, it was about the control factor. That's
Yes, it
what they
was.
want, is that control over you.
Period. Period.
Yes.
That's what they
So
want.
that this particular situation, I will never forget it. I
Mm.
remember he thought that somebody called my phone. Remember, we were not together. So he thought that somebody called my phone. He was like, "Oh, you sleeping with somebody? You miss, you doing all of
We
this." And
we back to that. We back to that.
now we're arguing in my apartment, and I just recall I had this huge, large mirror on my wall. And I remember I just heard it shattering. And I didn't know what happened because I'm in another room.
Right.
But he punched my mirror, and the mirror cracked. And so now he's already in a rage. And he comes in the room and he's like, "Oh, so we not getting back together?" I'm like, "No, not right now." He was like, "Okay." I tried to give you a chance. So we fighting again in
Mm.
my apartment around all this
Mm.
glass.
Mm.
Um, and the only thing that saved me that day was that my neighbor downstairs heard the commotion. She heard the
Ooh.
commotion and she called the police. And there was a
Mm.
knock at the door.
Mm.
And that is what stopped the fight. And that is what took him to jail. And to me, that was the final straw. There was no more going back after that. I knew that there was no going back.
You
And
knew
I really should have
exactly.
known the first time. There was no going back after that. And then I went back. So, for me, it was just all about insecurities, all about low self-esteem, not loving myself, and expecting somebody else to show me what love looked like.
But let's say this. Let's be straight up, because nobody wants to have a child that doesn't know their father, right? You don't want your child to be raised that way. Let me tell you something. Anybody would have tried to reconnect for the sake of their child. It's what we do. As moms, we want to protect our babies and give them the best possible chance. And look at your situation, right? You already lost your mom, you lost your dad at a young age. You didn't want, what I mean? I'm just thinking of how you could have been thinking. And then there's the other side, which is the naivete and the mistakes and the foolishness. We get it. But there is something to be said about the fact that you had a young child with him. I can understand the desire to have some sort of a positive relationship for the sake of the child. I can understand that. So I'm saying that to you because a lot of times we look back on what we did and the choices we made when we were surviving, right? Let's say it that way. The choices we made when we were surviving are not the same choices we would make today
Absolutely.
as thrivers, right? So I appreciate you. I want to put up what Dorothea said, okay? Because you're talking about love. She said, "Love looks like what the Pinkert family has for you and
It
your
does.
daddies."
It really does.
That's what it
I
looks like.
I didn't know I didn't know what a family of love looked like really until I kind of met that family.
I'm so glad she put that. And that made, look at that smile on your face. Look
Yes.
at that smile on your face. I see it. You
It's
like,
because it's something when you meet perfectly strangers who take you in really like a daughter,
yes,
and treat you literally like your family. They didn't have to do that from a can of paint.
yes, yes. I
And a
love
lot
it.
of people don't know that a lot of people that came into my life after that, they have been really impactful on the growth and the change
And
that I've had. And definitely the Pinker family definitely played a major role in that.
well, shout outs to the Pinkert family. And I don't even know them, but if y'all stepped in to help her, which it sounds like you did, I appreciate you. For on her behalf, I appreciate you. Then Cassandra, we're gonna keep saying Cassandra. Cassandra said, "You made the best choice to survive at the time." And that's what I meant. We look back and like, gosh, I've done it this. I wish I would have never. I'm this educated and I knew this and I had this. Why didn't I know to do that? And you're like, you know what? I made the best decision I made at the time. And that's how I survived at the time, right? And I just want to say that to y'all, like, this isn't easy. This journey is not easy. This walk is not easy as survivors. And especially when you're in it and you're literally a full-fledged victim and you are trying to make choices in every single moment. You're trying to get rest. He's not letting you do it. You're trying to breathe. He's not letting you do it. You're trying to control your money. You can't do it. Your time. Listen, I want to tell y'all something. I don't know if you went through it or not, Danielle, but sleep deprivation oh, it is a huge part of abuse.
I had to sleep with both eyes open. I couldn't close my eyes.
Thank you. You are trying to guard yourself, guard your possessions, because your phone gets taken, your wallet gets taken, your ID gets, your car keys gets taken. You are always on edge. And so you're like, in your case, I'm pregnant, I'm this, I'm that. I kind of need them, but I don't, but I do, but I don't, right? Where am I going to go now? These decisions, and I'm just saying it to anybody that's listening, the decisions you make when you're surviving, you have to forgive yourself for that. You have to forgive yourself for that. So, oh my God, I could talk to you forever. Let me get to the next question because the question is, thinking back to earlier in the relationship or even certain situations in the relationship, what are some of the boundaries that you know he pushed, now looking back? And what are those like yellow and red flags that you overlooked? Do you remember?
I think a lot of boundaries were pushed because one of the things about me, I'm such a peaceful person. Like I choose peace. I choose calamity over anything. I am such a giver, such a lover.
Yep.
And for me, all those things were played and taken advantage of. The boundaries with separating me from my family was a big one because I was very family oriented.
Yep.
And just it was the way that it was strategically set up to separate and isolate myself was definitely a boundary. But what I will say though is that a lot of those red flags is things that I saw and I just ignored a lot of times. That's a lot of times the case. We know them, we see them.
Yeah, something's uncomfortable and unsettling.
We do not want to, like you said, it's a lot of times it's settling because just to say you have a man or just to make yourself feel like you're worthy, or something like that. But to me, the red flags are always there.
Yeah.
They're always there.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm looking back, every red flag was there.
Yeah.
The name calling.
Oh, yes. There are some very obvious ones.
I'm sorry?
There are some very obvious ones. There are some obvious ones and some that are not so obvious. But let's listen to your obvious ones.
Well, yeah. So the obvious ones were name calling. It was like you said, taking things, and just the controlling behaviors were there up front.
Yep.
Always wanting to control who you talk to, who you're around, things like that. A lot of times they come off as in a playful way, but they're serious. Yeah. So a lot, and some of them are not noticeable. So for me, I have to be extra careful now to make sure that I'm not overlooking any.
Yes. And then here's what's the not so obvious, because these abusers, they are very manipulative. They are manipulators. They are liars. They spend a lot of time listening to us to understand. As I tell people, I try to use the same phrases when I have these podcasts. They are looking for the cracks in your dam, the places where you're not shored up, right? Whether it's a relationship with somebody that's kind of on the rocks and they use that relationship against you. Did you see, you ain't noticed how she did this or that to you? You still think she your friend? I went through that. You think she's your friend? And it got you questioning things. You're like, wait a minute. Well, yeah, I did notice that, but I didn't think it was, I went through a bunch of stuff. I remember feeling like, gosh, whenever I make a mistake, he's so angry. I must have really offended him. He's so upset. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I did make the wrong choice, or maybe I shouldn't have done that. But looking back on it now, get on out of here, dude, because what you mad about ain't even that big of a deal, but you're using it to put me in a defensive position. I just didn't understand that at the time, that people were so manipulative. So let me tell y'all something. Yes, this is a little teaching moment. Yes, just like Danielle said, There are certain things that we know. Nobody should call you out your name. You should never accept a man calling you a bitch or dirty or you ain't shit or none of those kind of words. Those are the obvious ones. But let's also respect the fact that there are things that we don't recognize because they are manipulative, and that is their strategy from the beginning. And so when they flip it on you and you don't quite understand that's what's happening, that's that game is sometimes hard to recognize, especially Danielle, with the guys that you and I had who've done it multiple times.
Exactly.
They
That
know the
part.
game.
That
They
part.
know the game. I didn't understand how bad my dude was until I was already married to him for 5 years. And I really found out how many times he was actually married and how many women he had actually done this to.
One thing that we did talk about, that I kind of briefly, if I can go back to just a
You
little
can.
bit,
You
we
can.
talked about having children by the abuser.
Ooh.
And a lot of times we do go into those situations and we're like, you know what, I need to try to make it work just because that is my child's father or my child's mom. No, it doesn't matter. The best thing that you can do for them is to keep them and remain away. For
Mm.
me, and it's still a mental thing because I did have a child and I did
Yes.
not ever want to. I've never, even to this day, I've never said a bad thing about my son's father to him. He doesn't even know. He probably will only know about watching this if he ever came across it.
Right.
But what I will say is that having a child is not a reason to stay in an abusive relationship. It's not. It didn't
Oh,
make me love my child no less. It actually made me love him a little bit more because I knew that I had messed up with the father that I gave him. So I had to love on him a little bit harder.
oh, did y'all hear what she just said? God, there's always something my guests say that just get me. Thank you. Because a lot of times that's Cassandra. She said, this was my life, sleeping with my wallet and my keys hidden in drawers. I kept mine. I'm gonna come back to your point. I kept mine in my purse, you in my bra, and on my shoulder, and I would sleep like this, just so he couldn't
And
get
you
my
shouldn't even
phones
have
and
to
my
do all
keys.
that with
You
somebody
shouldn't.
that you love.
Right. You shouldn't. But let me stay on that point about the babies, because I am gonna make a hypothesis. I am willing to argue and stand before anybody and argue this, that abusers make sure you get pregnant. They make sure you have a baby, because when is a woman most vulnerable? Pregnant, and after that baby is born, because there is nothing she will protect more than that offspring. And that alone will make you say whatever you want. Okay, I'll do it. Because if I got to protect what's in my belly by doing what you said, that's what I'm going to do. If I got to protect the baby that's now born, I'm going to do what you said do. Because I'm trying to, they make sure. That's why a lot of women who go through abuse have multiple kids by their abusers. Their abusers not letting them use birth control. Their abusers not wearing condoms. They make sure they're pregnant, because every time you're pregnant, you are truly almost at their complete mercy, trying to protect your children.
That's true.
So let me say this. Having said all that, what you said, that does not mean you need to stay. That does not mean, I want y'all to hear this message. My God, Danielle, I swear I need to have you back. I swear I need to have you back on the show at some point. So does this mean that Cassandra herself experienced domestic violence? She was sleeping with the wallet and keys hidden in drawers. Wow. This
I
thing
don't
is
know. You got
real.
to ask my sister because it's a lot. You know, it's a lot of things I may not know.
So sis, maybe one day, sis, we got to talk, baby. This is LaShawn. This is my cousin. She said, I still hide my wallet even though he's gone.
It's trauma. You know,
It's trauma.
and even with saying that, when you experience any type of trauma, it's still going to be certain things, certain habits. Even when I'm dealing in new relationships, it's still certain things that I'm very,
Very
very,
alert and
very
aware
cautious
of.
about. I'm very alert.
Yep. So take me to the thinking back. What did domestic violence cost you? It could be financial, but that's not all that I mean. What did it cost you?
I think domestic violence cost me a great deal of my womanhood, a piece of the womanhood that I was supposed to hold sacred.
Mm-hmm.
It took that for a moment, just for a moment, because
Mm.
everything that it took from me, I did gain back.
Amen.
But some of the things that it took a lot of my pride. It took a lot of my self-esteem. Even though I know I'm a beautiful lady, when you're dealing with domestic violence, none of that matters. You feel like the most ugliest person in the world. So
And nothing like yourself. You don't feel
it,
like yourself at all.
it stripped me of my confidence. It stripped me of some parenting in that moment in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you make a choice to stay, you're not parenting properly.
Because you are not yourself.
Your goal,
And you are,
you have to make,
yes.
if you can't make the best decision for yourself. So me choosing to stay in a domestic violence situation, what do you think could have happened to my kids had I stayed? Eventually he could have been abusing my kids because I was so weak.
Mm, I'm going to
So
tell
for
you.
me, when you choose to stay in a domestic violence situation, you are doing more harm to your children than good.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because you can't properly care for you. You are not the person that you need to be. Your mind is all over the place. You're making decisions you never make. And you are literally giving your child whatever's left. Right. And it
And
is
you're
a,
afraid.
and you're
How are you
afraid.
gonna be fearless and being a parent and you're afraid?
Yes. And think about that. That's why I tell people I got my baby out. I said, I got her out when she was 4 years old. And I just think back to that. I'm like, I refused to let her think that that was how husbands treated wives, that was how mommies are supposed to be treated by daddies. You are allowing your child to have a picture painted about relationships and life.
Yeah.
And listen, for anybody, I'm going to talk to the audience right now. For anybody that has been in that situation where there was a child involved, I will say this: just like every domestic violence situation is different, the time and the circumstances of when you can get yourself and your kids out is different. Okay, so let me just say that, because everybody says, why doesn't she just leave? She needs to just leave. Everybody has so much to say about what it means to leave, but no one fully understands what it really takes to leave. And every situation is different. Yours, Danielle's situation was highly physical, involved weapons and things like that. I didn't experience weapons. And so I want to be clear. We have got to protect these babies. That is an absolute must. Danielle will agree. We have got to protect these babies. But there is a lot of times victims know how safe or unsafe they are.
Yeah.
And
My
yeah,
son had to my son was 5 when all of these things occurred. So
yeah,
imagine when he turns 11 and 12 and he's still talking about your abuse that you're
that's
not even
tough
talking about no more,
because he remembers.
because he went through it with me. He
He went
suffered
through with you.
domestic violence as well.
Mm. I just thank God for you. I want to put up some comments because when people comment, I got to make sure they get seen. Check this
Yeah.
out. Cassandra said, I did. I was married to him for 10 years. All the forms of abuse you mentioned earlier. So if y'all never had this conversation, well, she said, I was very much still in love with my husband when I walked away, but I did it for my daughter.
Mm.
I almost went back many times, but I said, but started strong, I guess. So she never went back. Thank God.
Yes,
Let
it's
me
a
tell y'all
blessing.
something about this podcast. Let me tell y'all something about this podcast. There are things that we find out and we discuss that may have never come out or been discussed in other situations. God is good because this
Amen.
opens a whole new channel of conversation between y'all. I love it. I love it. Okay. So you jumped, you got out. Thank God. But your story did not end there. It didn't end there. So why don't you tell us about your journey to healing and talk about what your life is like today?
The journey to healing from domestic violence, it was different, because after I suffered domestic violence, I didn't get into another relationship right away.
Yeah.
I needed to process everything that happened. I didn't trust people too easily anymore, especially men.
Especially. Especially.
Especially men. And I try not to be the person, you don't ever want to take your old baggage into a new relationship. So I knew I had to properly figure out why I allowed all those things to happen to me. Why I allowed all those things to happen to me.
Almost what was going on with you, right? What was going on inside of you
So
that,
I had to
yeah,
unpack more trauma. So the
yep,
more I unpacked my past traumas, the more I was able to understand why I accepted the abuse. And I was
yeah,
able to process how I would never accept that type of abuse again.
right.
So my journey to healing, it was a long one. It was a long one. Here I am 13 years later talking about it
Amen.
for the first time publicly.
So proud of you.
For the
So
first
proud.
time publicly. So
So
my
proud of
journey is it's been interesting.
you. Yes.
Because that is a part of my life that I literally closed out. I had to come back and unpack this today for this
Mm-hmm.
podcast
Mm-hmm.
because I don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah. I
Because
appreciate you.
and just because you survive does not mean that the healing is over.
Correct.
Because every time you come across a new person,
You're watching for the signs.
you're looking for signs. It's almost as if you're waiting on this person to be the same person, or if not worse. So for me, my journey to healing was a long one. It was a good one. I really got to understand who I was, what I loved, what I did not like,
Right.
what I would accept, what I would not accept. And just overall, I got to spend some time with me, and I got to understood why everybody loved me.
Oh my God. Look, this is my cousin. She said, it's okay to unpack spiritual bags and allow God to help you carry them.
Yes, I like
Because
that.
this thing is deep. It gets really, really deep.
I like that.
So yeah, me too. Me too. So I want to say quickly, this is why part of why I have the podcast, because if we can make it plain, if we can tell people about these signs and things that come along the way, then maybe we can help you not go all the way to the point where you are in total fear of your life, where someone will shoot you, will stab you, right? Because when you get to that point, getting out is extremely difficult because now they will take your life. And so now you're almost trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
So if you are listening, ladies, because men get abused too, men, women, if you are in a situation and that relationship is unhealthy leads to toxic and abusive. What we're trying to say is please don't walk that path because the longer you're in it, the harder it is to get out of that thing.
And if you accept it one time,
Ooh,
one time,
one time and don't walk away or come back,
it's never going to stop.
it's never going to stop
Not with
and
that
it will
person.
be worse. Right.
And it will kill you. I know for a fact. I'm 100% positive. Had I not left, I would not be here today talking about the story.
Yeah, he would have took you out of here.
I know for sure. I'm 100% positive.
Mm.
And
Well,
so
listen,
now going
go ahead.
forward, I watch for all the signs.
Mm.
I will not date anybody unless I have seen you in every form of emotion. If I have not seen you in your anger, cannot do it. I
Mm.
cannot begin a relationship with you unless I've seen you in every emotion.
Hold on, let me stop right there. Did y'all hear that? Because what we like to do, because it feels good in the beginning, we're all joyful and we might have had a little tiny little spat or that was my juice that you drank. Oh, that was okay, baby, right? We do all that stuff. It's okay. We need to give it time. What you're essentially saying is you need time to know. You need time to see them in a variety of
Yeah.
situations and in a variety of emotional states, especially anger.
Anger. That's
Especially anger.
you
Because it's
have to
one thing
witness
to,
it. Yeah.
you have to witness it. Because it's one thing to see them get upset about something, and that's a little different. But when anger, or when you notice that person could be here and then jump all the way there to 10, that's also something you got to watch out for.
Their anger is gonna expose their character.
Yes. Did y'all hear that? The anger, their character is exposed. Where do they go with it? What do they do when they're angry? And honestly, Danielle, what are they angry about? Because they'll try to blame things on you that you made
And
them
why would you
angry.
get so angry to where you cannot communicate about it?
Hello.
So
Hello.
how is your communication level?
Hello.
Mhm.
You better tell it. Now listen, this is what I know about you though. You have done, you see my, I was doing that. What's that dance
Right, you have
called?
to make me dance.
You have done more than survive. That I do know. You have done more than survive. You are a person, you have turned that pain, that trauma into purpose. And in more on more than one level, as a matter of fact. You own some businesses, all of which are in some way designed to help others become everything. I remember you said that, to live their lives in purpose. So why don't you tell us more about you, what you're doing today, your businesses, all that good stuff.
What I did, I mean, what I do today, I shared the story. I told you that my mom passed at 15. Her name was Colleen. So I am the CEO and founder of Colleen's Creations Multi Services LLC. I created that to pay honor to my mom, just to let her know that even though the world said I would not become anything, I became everything. It's like
Yes.
she was fearless queen, and I became everything in turn to help others create the purpose that they should be living. So I use Colleen's Creations just as a staple to pay the homage, but through her, I it's a lifestyle of self development in others as a reflection of my gifts.
Amen.
So I use all of my gifts as a business strategy coach. I help others, like I said, overcome the fear of transition from moving from employer to entrepreneur. I show you how to tap into the digital world of digital products.
Mm,
We're heading to a world of technology. So I help you with monetizing digital products and online courses, anything of the sort, websites, anything that's going to move you into a elevation state, a growth state. That's what Colleen's Creations is. It's a lifestyle development.
you better tell it. I'm going to put that up there. I'll put it in the
And
comments. It's on the
I
screen.
am Colleen's Creations.
Yes. You are Colleen's creation. And what a wonderful creation you are. I am so proud of you. Like I sit back and I know why I created Ladder Masters. You know why you created Colleen's creation. And I just want people, there are people like you and I who are out here saying, we are going to help you become the conqueror, become the best version of yourself that you can be. And we're out here talking about this because you and I both had to work through all that stuff that we went through, figure out how to make it not the most important things in our mind, because when it's taking over your mind, you can't focus. You can't grow yourself, and therefore you never be able to grow others. So you and I are on this journey where we have worked through some things, like I say,
Yes.
some things, so that we could actually transform into who God meant us to be, so that we can then continue down this journey to help others become who they were meant to be. So look at that. I'm beyond proud. Do the work, sister. Do the work. She said, I'm beyond proud. Do the work, sister. It is 8:08. I try to stay not past 8:15. I appreciate all of you who have stayed on. I'm going to ask Danielle one more question, but please take note of the fact that I put her website up here. Visit it. It's in the comments. You can copy and paste it, but it's on screen now. Visit colleenscreation.net. That says /home to take you to the homepage, but she's got a blog out there. She's got her services out there, all that stuff. This is a woman who you want to talk to after today. All right. So make sure you go stop by that website. My last question for you is, what final thoughts? You share so much already. I don't know what else you could share, but what final thoughts do you want to leave the audience with? Because like you said, this is a recording. Someone else will watch it at some point in time, or even people who are watching live. What final thoughts would you like to share and leave with the audience?
My final thoughts is that if you know anyone that is dealing with domestic violence, you have a duty. It is your responsibility as well. If you love a person, if you know, a lot of times we don't know because
Mm,
victims do hide domestic violence.
yes, that's
But if you
true.
do know someone who is dealing with domestic violence, please do not be silent. If you yourself is dealing with domestic violence, please do not be silent, because there will be one day where you will be silenced
Mm,
and you may not be able to speak out or reach
mm,
out.
mm.
So if you have ever experienced anything like that, I implore you to talk about it. Tell your story. Once you're able, once you heal, make sure try and go back and reach one.
Mm,
Another thing that I definitely implore you guys to do when you are dealing with someone, when you have children, put yourself first, put your children first. There is no man, there is no woman that is worth the mental anguish, the emotional instability that comes behind domestic violence. My only thought would be to get out. Do not accept it, not even the first time. One time is too many.
One time is too many.
And 2 times may be too late.
Oh, one time is
Do
too
not
many.
ignore the warning signs and make sure you see everybody in their anger. That will save you so much time.
I am going to, one time is too many, and 2 times may be too late. I am literally typing this in the chat because I need that phrase to be held somewhere out there in the interwebs. As people like, one time is too many and 2 times may be too late. Let me just put that on the screen, because that right there, that's real. Thank you for giving us that little golden nugget right there. One time is too many and 2 times may be too late. You just don't know what you are getting yourself into. Listen, at the bottom of that screen, there has been a ticker rolling the entire night. It tells you that this podcast is for domestic violence awareness and action, because there are some things that have to be done. This podcast is every Sunday at 7. Danielle said it. Don't be silent. That number is running across the bottom. The number is 855 We Survive. Okay? There is somewhere to call for resources. You could call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can reach out to me. 855 We Survive, 855-937-8784. So if you just need resources or someone to lead you in the right direction, please contact Ladder Masters. This, which is me, right? That's me. I get on here every week to tell y'all there is a place for this stuff. There are things you can do. Danielle, for someone who has never publicly shared their story, the way you've done it tonight, I honor you, because you really, like, the way you speak, the energy you have, just the genuine and authentic person that you are, it comes across. And I just want to thank you and to thank God for your life, for what you told us today, because if it wasn't for him, we invited him in, right? Just for that reason. If it wasn't for him, where would we be? You are phenomenal, Queen. You are phenomenal. So at some point, I need to meet this sister and these God family you got going on, all these relatives up on here that love you to pieces, clearly. Let me say, so Dorethia said, profound indeed. She said, that statement you just made, profound indeed. You are the best. We are about to close this thing out tonight. It is 8:13. I'm going to put this last one up from Cassandra, because that's your sissy. She said, I'm beyond proud. Do the work. Oh, do the work, do the work, do the work.
That's a Colleen creation too.
Hey. I'm so proud of y'all. So I expect to fully hear about this follow-up conversation between you and Cassandra. I want to hear about this. Y'all keep me posted. You tell me if you ever need anything at all, when it comes down to you looking forward in terms of business connections, in terms of more work on the domestic violence side. I sideways suggest to her, y'all, that she be a co-host at some point, but she ain't say yes yet. So I'm just going to let this ride until we'll see where that one goes. All right. It is a wonderful night. I am going to shut this thing down. You have been amazing. But you left out something, that little thing right behind you. Can you bring that little quote right there? That quote behind you. We can't leave that out. That's important. It reads, if seeing yourself in the mirror is scary, sad, or depressing, clean your mirror, adjust your crown, and take another look. Colleen's creation. I like the lips. Look, you like, You are phenomenal. All right, Danielle, you and I will talk after this. We got something special going on anyway. But so yes, thank you for tonight. You were great. Any last anythings?
No, I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to come on here and just show your support. Thank
Yes.
you to everybody that will watch this in the future. Just spread awareness. Spread awareness. Do your part. We can't do more than what we can do, and that's it. If you do your part, then that's enough.
I love it. All right. Well, everybody, good night. Thank you for hanging out. It's Sunday. I know we got to go to work tomorrow, so I appreciate you for hanging out with us. It's 8:15. We're going to shut this thing down. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
See ya.
night.